Hey everybody, welcome to Philosophy on the Couch. I'm your host Jordan.
And I'm your host Ryan. So today we're going to talk about some super important topics, you guys. For example, when mountain lions attack, saying suck it to social media, and envelopes. What is the right way to open one? Today's episode is sponsored in part by the Central Minnesota Bigfoot Society, where they take very seriously the existence of Bigfoot. And we thank them for their gracious donation and all they do to protect Bigfoot in central Minnesota, protecting their young ones, protecting their right to vote, protecting all of their, land and things like that. So awesome work, Central Bigfoot Society of America in Minnesota. And this is a fictional sponsor. If you would like to really sponsor Philosophy on the Couch, please contact us at philosophyotc@gmail.com. All right.
Yes.
So we're back. Season 1, episode 2.
Well, what?
And if you listened to us the first time and you're back again today, that's awesome. We appreciate you listening. We're happy to have you here. And honestly, it's a place where we can just have totally honest discussion about pretty much any topic under the sun.
Yes.
And so if you feel like that's what you need, that's what we're here for. And we like to have some fun with it too. So, hey, it's been a week. Jordan, how's your week been?
Ooh, again, it has been quite a week. Today especially. But hey, good news. I should be getting the skid steer back tomorrow.
Ooh, the skid steer. So you have to, nobody else listening here knows what you're talking about
Sure.
when you say the skid steer.
Right.
Also commonly referred to as a bobcat.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Skid loader, all sorts of things like that.
Yep. All of the above.
Right.
Same machine.
But what's the story?
So we decided that it would be a good investment to buy a skid steer and found one for the right price and got it. Within the first 2 hours of using it, it broke.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep. So I thought I got shafted. Long story short, the guy came back and is fixing it, but it has been a whole month. And I need to get some projects done.
Sure, but you've learned a lot of patience.
Fall is coming. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what you call it.
Yeah, not the lesson that I needed to learn.
That's fair.
At least it doesn't seem like it.
Sure.
I'm a pretty patient person.
Sure. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have any traumatic experiences this last week with burritos.
Well, that's good.
So that was a plus. Yeah, it's been a weird week. I've been busy doing a lot of different things. Some exercising. That's a weird week.
That's
for me.
right. Yeah, no, I agree. Same here.
But it's good and enjoying the weather.
Yes.
And hope everybody else is getting outside, enjoying the weather. In Minnesota is where we are from, and so limited time with nice weather.
Yes, very much so.
And yeah, you got to get out there, got to take advantage of it. So I understand you're wanting to get the skid steer to get your projects done.
Yep. Time is running out.
Yeah,
At least it feels like it.
sure. So we talked a lot, about a bunch of topics last week, but there's something really important that's been on my mind. And, I would say this is maybe, if not the most important topic that we can cover for our listeners. It's right up in the top 5 easily.
Okay.
Super, super important. And I think if we were going to actually look into this, I think the statistics would probably say that you're far more likely to be attacked by a mountain lion than struck by lightning. I'm not going to go and actually, please don't look that up.
I think people should.
Do you think
Send
that's
us the answer.
That's true? That's fair.
You guys do the legwork.
Right. I'm just going to make an outrageous claim. So really,
Wait, did you say they would be more likely to be attacked or die?
attacked by a mountain lion
Okay.
versus struck by lightning.
Okay, sure.
And I don't have anything to back that up. I'm just making the claim.
I feel like that probably is true. That sounds right to me.
Sure. Let's run with it then.
Yeah.
Anyways, but for real, there's plenty of times where I've had this conversation. It's been a topic that I think everyone needs to make sure that they cover, right?
Sure.
So What do you do? Let's set the stage here. You
Preparedness
are well,
is the key.
okay, preparedness, but I'm going to take that away from you in a moment. So just hang on. Setting the stage. What do you do? Let's say you are hiking.
Yep.
It's dusk, beautiful sunset. You got your significant other walking with you, and you're like, you know what? I just gotta run back and grab something from the vehicle. I'll be right back.
I feel like you didn't hike very far if you can just run back
okay,
to
fine.
the vehicle.
Get rid of it. There's nobody else around. Your significant other is not there. You're just hiking on your own. Beautiful, sunset. You're walking along this like little bluff, and it's like gorgeous.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you don't even know what's going to happen, right? There's nothing, because a mountain lion is going to be super sneaky.
Yeah.
And you're not going to know they're coming, most likely. All of a sudden, wham! On your back. It's got you by the neck. It's got its jaws around the back of your neck. How do you survive? What is your strategy? Listen close, people, because this is significant and important, and this could save your life.
Yeah. Immediately, you got to get it off. So, you laugh at me.
No kidding. I was going to wait for a little while.
Okay, but I'm saying we're going through this methodically, okay?
Okay, sure.
You got to get it off.
So you need to identify that you need to get it off.
No, it's been identified. You need to get it off. Eyes, soft spots. You got thumbs, you got other fingers. If you don't, I know, I'm trying not to touch it.
New mics.
New mics.
With pop filters that Jordan likes to touch, and they create noise. Anyways, you got to get it off.
Yeah. So if you do not, if you're not carrying any kind of weapon, whether that be a knife or a gun, and you only have your hands, definitely I would say thumb in the eye, just to get it off. That initial thing is to get it off, right?
So I'm going to push back just a little bit on that.
Sure.
I agree. The eye, right? Sensitive area. However, how are you going to, find the eye when it's just pummeled you into the ground and it is just ripping at your neck? Just shaking you.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, you'll know which side it's on.
Will you?
With its body, yeah.
I don't know if you will.
You will.
You're going to be distracted by the punctures and the crunching noises.
See,
of the
I don't think you
vertebrae.
will. I don't think you will. I think the adrenaline is going to kick in, and you are going to be very aware of where it's at.
Sure.
You're going to know it's obviously clamped to your neck.
You
But
will
you're gonna
know that.
But you're also, I think you're going to have a pretty good awareness that, like, oh, okay, it came down, and its body is now on the right side of my body, so its eyes are most likely going to be over center left.
Sure. Okay. I'll take that.
So, boom, left hand, thumb it in the eye to get it to release. And then, I guess from there, if it should release. If it does, will it continue to attack in this scenario?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They're going to, absolutely, because any mountain lion that attacks you has committed to eating you. There's no doubt in its mind that you're the one that it wants to eat.
Right, but the fact that you fought back and you got it off may deter it from continuing.
That's a really unlikely maybe. Sure. I'll give you the chance to say, fine. Maybe, but highly unlikely.
Okay.
So let's say the likelier of the two options happens and it does not stop attacking you.
Sure. Then what do I do?
What's the next step?
I would want to get close.
Okay. Describe.
Okay, well, also for me, I would probably have a knife on me.
No.
So you're
no
saying...
weapons,
okay.
because this is just a general idea. I mean, any listener who's sitting here, the odds that they're going to carry a knife, who knows?
I
right?
think... Well, so I think this brings in another point. You never know what's going to happen if you're out on a hike, right? Look at the 72 Hours guy.
Sure.
That was pretty crappy. Would have been a lot better if you had a bigger knife.
I didn't watch the movie.
But you know the story.
I know the story. You're right.
Yeah.
But that's not a mountain lion.
It's not. But he had to cut his own arm off.
Yeah. I mean, I'd chew my own arm off, obviously.
If you had... Could you? I don't think I'd be able to.
So much man.
No. So, I think it's a wise choice to have to bring with you.
That's-
Even a pocket knife. Think about it. A little pocket knife that's got a 2.5-inch blade. Assuming that you are not used to carrying a knife, that knife is probably going to be pretty sharp because you're probably not using it for very much.
Sure.
I mean, that could be a complete lifesaver. It could be.
It could be.
And that's like an $8 purchase at Walmart. I'm not saying you need to go buy some like super expensive, high quality tactical, boot knife.
Sure, but here's my thing. And eventually I'm going to give my opinion on this. But I like pushing back against your statements right now because
Sure.
it's fun.
That's fine.
So here's the deal. When you are in a situation that is high stress,
Yeah.
your adrenaline is pumping like crazy, you are going to lose your fine motor skills. So opening
entirely.
a knife, not entirely, but you're not going to be able to sit. You're going to be shaking. You're not going to be able to open that knife that easy.
I think
it has to be a knife that's going to be easily opened. You can't just go and buy any old pocket knife. Swiss Army knife, not going to do the trick. You're more likely to open up the screwdriver than you are,
Yeah,
which is fine. That gives you something.
Open up a screwdriver?
Yeah,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
yeah. The screwdriver.
Yeah. In
Option on
a
the
Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
Got it. I was like, screwdrivers don't open up. They're just handles with sticks.
Apparently, you haven't used the fancy kind of screwdrivers.
Apparently not.
I don't know if they exist, but anyways, yeah. I just think that.
So
it's-
we can go to the no weapon.
Yes, let's just stay at
Scenario.
the no weapon scenario because otherwise you have too many variables with this.
Sure. Okay, no weapon scenario. I still say your best bet is to get in close because if any of you have pets out there, whether it's a dog or a cat, I think when you get in close, especially
You cuddle.
Well,
That's
yeah.
what I do.
So so
we're
I've
gonna
had
cuddle
dogs.
the mountain lion.
Not that you're gonna cuddle it, but when you get in, you have a lot more control.
So you're talking like what do mountain lions get up to? Like a big male mount, 190 pounds? Or is that
No,
bigger?
that's bigger.
120?
You think they're that big?
Yeah, I'm sure they can get 120 pounds. Do you have cell phone service out here?
I don't.
What? I guarantee you that they
Still.
90 pounds. I don't care.
Sure.
90 to 150 pounds, let's say,
Yeah. Sure.
depending on where you're at.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I used to have a German Shepherd. She's big. She wasn't 150 pounds. I'll give you that.
Does not have the paws.
Doesn't have the paws. Okay, but still, lacerations on the arm or lacerations on your throat? What would you rather have?
Oh, on the arm, but
Get in
when you go
close.
in close, they're going to grab you again right in the front of the neck,
No.
jugular, you're dead, blood spurts everywhere.
Yeah. So, I'm not saying. I mean, you got to close the gap though. If you are expecting this thing to attack you at some point, you should be the initiator. You should go on the aggressive. When it comes at you, try and get your arm in its mouth. Straight. Fist down throat. Seriously.
Sure.
So-
I mean,
and
if
I-
you
so
can
I say
do
this-
that, rip out its heart then, right? I mean, we're going to go that
No,
far. It's
you
like,
don't even have to go that far. So this actually happened not too long ago. There was a hiker in, I think it was Washington,
Okay.
who killed a mountain lion with his bare hands.
I believe it can be done.
Yeah, it did exactly what you said. It stalked him, and he thought he was being stalked throughout his hike. At one point, when it did attack, he said it grabbed onto the back of his skull, and he could hear it crushing his skull, actually. And I'm pretty sure what he did was he jabbed it in the eye, turned around, and fist in its mouth, and it did. It chewed up his arm. His arm definitely had lacerations that needed, serious medical care, but it saved his life, and he killed, a mountain lion with his bare hands.
Sure.
Pretty
Basically
BA.
just choked it to death.
Yep.
So here's the deal. I do think you're right up to a certain degree. So, and I think that that's one option that's a possibility.
Well, I'm excited to hear
However,
yours.
I think there's a difference. Before I move on to mine, there's a little bit of a difference between, let's say, the mountain lion having grabbed the back of the skull and having grabbed the base of the neck. Because back of the skull, you're still a little bit more mobile. If you have the base of the neck, like, totally locked up, that's going to make a difference, right? So he had a little bit of, and there's less for the teeth to sink into. You can slide your head out of there and it'll rip up your scalp, but
I don't know.
I'm not 100% sure. I just think you have a higher chance if it's on the skull.
Okay.
Now, here's what I say. Totally agree up to you. I think one of the best ways to go about it is go after the sensitive spots. So eyes, super sensitive, right?
Right.
And so that's a great strategy to start out. I hesitate on
Closing the distance.
closing the distance as I mean, there's a certain degree of like when you go on the offense right away, take them by surprise, things like that. There's probably some truth to that, but and maybe it's different because it's a mountain lion, but in other situations, I mean, you want some form of distance to be able to even set yourself. So I think initially it's not going to be they get off you and you just go tearing after them. You're going to have to at least get a minimum of 1 to 2 arm lengths away. So you
Sure.
can assess,
Sure.
right? So that way you at least can react. Let's say they lunge at you right away, you can react. Whereas you get them off, you turn around, you start going to town wailing at this thing, chances are they're going to swat your arms out of the way and they're going to have you pinned again, in my opinion.
Maybe.
I
don't know.
And I'm
I
not
don't think
an
they'd be
expert.
able to swap both. I don't think.
You don't
Unless
think so?
Well, I mean, not that it couldn't.
Man, you think these mountain lions are real idiots, don't you? They're
I
not
think
they're
they're-
not trained from birth to kill by any means.
Correct. No.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know, man. I think
I mean, I agree with like getting space, like to, get your bearings. I'm not saying the second it's off you, yeah, you turn around and like, I mean, I think if you turned around and it like was like, what is going on here? And you had the opportunity to jam your arm down its throat to keep you alive, I would absolutely take that. Versus like, oh, well, I'm going to get up to assess the situation because that just gives it time to recoup too.
sure.
But if I jabbed it in the eye and it ran back 10 feet, of course I'm going to get up and like assess because maybe it would run off. And obviously I'm not going to go chasing after it,
Sure.
if it's running away from me.
Yeah, I'm not going to chase after it. Well, I don't know. If you
You could maybe take a couple steps to really get it going.
Right. I think naturally I probably would.
Sure.
But
You wouldn't hunt it down though.
I don't know, man. How much adrenaline do I have pumping through my system? Have I gone full-blown mountain lion killer?
No.
I don't know. I can't say it wouldn't happen, right?
Sure.
I mean, who knows? Maybe
You think you
I'm-
could catch up to a mountain lion running at full speed?
Listen, I started running last night, and I guarantee you that if that mountain lion is blind because I've stabbed out its eyes,
Well, one.
I'd have a
You
shot.
probably got one, and you probably didn't blind
Well,
it.
maybe that's the strategy. Go for 2. You get a thumb and you get your middle finger and you just gouge, twist, rip, take those eyes out of there.
I mean, if you
And
did
then
that,
and then it can't do anything and you just sit around and gloat in your glory.
I mean, I think if you did that and you actually removed its eyes, I'm pretty sure the fight's over and it's gonna turn tail and like run in a direction that's not towards you.
I don't know, because here's the deal. I think if it does that, it's going to feel really helpless and panicked. It's
Yeah,
going to
exactly.
sit there, and whatever noise it hears, it's lashing out.
I don't think so. I think
Yeah.
it is gonna freak. I think you're right. It's gonna panic and it's gonna be like, I can't defend myself.
I don't know.
One way to
I
find
don't-
out.
no, I'm not going into that situation. No way. No way. But you know what? I mean, it could be an entirely different scenario. Who knows, right? There's so many variables.
There are a lot.
And here's the thing. Part of the issue with some of this stuff is going to be, I feel like in our current culture, the initial response, let's say there's 2 people. One person's going to be fighting and trying to survive. And guess what the other person's probably going to do?
Oh, you think the other person's gonna? You're saying like 2 people get attacked at the same time?
One person's getting attacked. The other person probably, and this is probably an overstatement, I would hope, but 50% of the time, that other person is pulling out their phone to take a video to post on social media.
I don't think so.
You don't think that would happen?
I don't know.
I don't know, man.
I think the adrenaline kicks in, and I think most people would come to the aid.
But if you look on social media, and you're right, I think in that situation, most people
Because that's a
probably
pretty
would.
dire situation.
Sure, and you think you're gonna die too, so you're gonna be selfish.
Let me
and-
get this on Snapchat.
No, not if you think you're gonna actually die. I'm saying in that situation you probably wouldn't, but
Okay.
that brings up a larger conversation for me
Okay.
because, and it's in that social media world.
Okay. Sure.
So here's my statement, and you debate, and you guys feel free to join in this discussion by shooting us an email and telling us your thoughts, because this is probably a fairly, I mean, it could be a debate, highly debated statement I'm about to make, but
Okay.
I think that everyone should get off of all social media to a degree.
Okay.
The majority of people would be better off if they would just dump social media.
So I think there's two different statements there. One being people would be better off if they didn't have it, which I wholeheartedly agree with. And the other one was,
People should dump it.
well, yeah, I think people should get rid of their social media.
All of it, cold turkey.
Well, that's what you're saying, right?
Well, that's my state. Kind of a question. I mean, on one hand, I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, I do see some benefits in it. It's just a question of at what point do the costs outweigh the benefits?
Right.
And to the point that, you know what, there are good things about this, but it's so bad for us that we need to just, as a culture, say enough.
Sure.
We're done.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I don't have much for social media. I don't even think this counts as social media. The only thing I have at this point is a LinkedIn. So,
LinkedIn counts to a degree. It's a sucky, boring social media. But yeah, I would call it social media to a degree.
okay.
I don't know. It's not your top whatever.
It's, well,
ones.
right. It's not like Twitter or Facebook or Insta, Snapchat, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
TikTok.
So, couple things with social media.
Actually, I have a question.
Okay.
Is Reddit, would you consider Reddit social media since it's pretty much just a giant forum for people?
No, I think forums are different.
Forums are different?
I think they are.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure. I think they are for a couple of reasons, and maybe when we get into some of the associated risks or negatives with social media, you'll be able to play out why
Okay.
it's maybe a little different. But
Yeah, sure.
a couple things, and so I don't know if this is the most up-to-date research or, surveys, things like that, but just to give us an idea of literally how much social media is involved in our life. So,
Okay.
and this is adolescents and young adults that this was done with.
Okay.
So 45% reported that they are online almost constantly, and another 44% saying they are online at least several times a day.
Mm,
So,
sure.
negatives in that?
I mean, yeah, of course there's going to be negatives with that.
What kind? Like, you could go anywhere with that statement, right? Because
Yeah.
there's so many different avenues that could be a negative,
Yeah.
from loss of productivity to whatever else.
Yeah. So I think one of the big ones that we see is when people are online, they either think they're anonymous or think they can be anonymous, which is definitely a lot of people don't take steps to actually do that.
Sure.
So, yeah, I think that's a big piece. And then when they're anonymous, quote unquote, you feel invincible. And there are plenty of cases where, reality is pretty harsh when they get shown that they maybe aren't anonymous or, because I think that's the main piece with it is like when you find out, like, ooh, people actually found out who I was when I said that.
Sure.
And that's, I guess, yeah, I don't know.
So it removes the consequences to a degree.
People think it does.
They think it removes the consequences
Right.
of what they say or do. And we see
Yep.
that all the time, right? So
Frequently.
there are certain situations, even recent things that have happened where an individual may make a very outspoken statement that in the privacy of their own home or with a close group of people, they know that person.
Right.
They understand what they're at least trying to say, even though it comes off a certain way.
Right.
And then once it's online and it's public, it goes everywhere. You can't control it. And people lose their jobs frequently over things like this.
Sure.
And so that's not to say they should say those things, right? Because most of the time they shouldn't.
Right.
However, I mean, there are consequences that are unintended by having publicly stated certain things.
Yep. Absolutely.
But there's a whole host of other things with this, and there's there's other research. So another survey done in 2018, and so maybe this has changed a little bit by now, but 31% of adolescents believe that social media has a mostly positive impact on their life. So this is where you get into the positives, right? So basically saying that adolescence, connection, and
Right.
social things like that are huge to their development, their feeling of belonging, things like that.
Right.
And so there is an element of this makes it easy for you to connect.
For sure.
And so information is shared, and people are able to just really go to a different level where it's not where you have to be with somebody to connect with them. It gives you this instantaneous ability to connect via images even, right?
Right.
So that is one thing that on the surface seems like a major positive
Yeah. Right.
on the surface, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are other things with it. And so on the flip side of that, 25% of adolescents said that social media has a mostly negative effect on their life.
Sure.
And so, those are actually, to me, they're fairly close together
Yeah.
as far as
Yeah.
almost a third each way to a degree. And that's, or a fourth,
Yeah. Quarter.
quarter of each.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other things that are in play here that I feel like even if someone thinks it makes them feel better, there's actually a lot of mental health and psychological effects, I think, of having that social media instant access all the time.
Right.
So what do you think about that side of it?
Well, let me back up, I guess, for a second and go to the ones who think it's positive. Social media thinks
Sure.
they think social media is positive. So I mean, I don't even entirely disagree with that. So, since a little bit of backstory here, I was homeschooled from 8th grade through my senior year. With that, I made a lot of friends online,
Sure.
which it wasn't necessarily through social media, but, if I didn't have that avenue, I would have had far fewer friends.
Sure.
And I don't know, I think about it in the context also of, if you're into something really specific, let's say you're into a really specific band that's not necessarily super popular, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you go on Facebook and I don't know, this just goes to probably show how out of touch I am, but you post something about it and, you don't get any likes or something like that, right? And it's like, oh man, I feel like such a loser. But then you can go to that band's Facebook page or the, record label's Facebook page and, find other like-minded people, which, then you find a group and it's like,
Sure.
oh yeah, we all like this band and now we can talk about it and, make that connection that way.
Sure. Now, one issue with that, so that's positive, definitely. It's awesome because then people can make those connections with people that they feel like, they've got a connection with, they fit, things like that. But here's the problem I see with that, is it removes you a little bit from reality.
Right.
And now you're starting to compartmentalize your life, where here's my social life digitally with this group of people.
Absolutely.
And then me sitting in my everyday, I'm miserable.
Sure.
Because there's nobody around me that I am feel like I'm able to connect with.
Right. Yeah. And also to go along with that, one
Okay.
of the other negatives that can come with that positive thing is, depending on what the subject is, it can also be really bad because it becomes just an echo chamber where everybody's like, yeah, oh yeah, that's absolutely right. You know,
Uh-huh.
I totally agree with that. If you don't agree with that, you're just stupid.
Or you can end up in places that are a disaster. Like, what is it, 4chan? Something like that. I don't know. I've only heard little
Well,
bits
is that
and
a
pieces
social
about
media?
that.
Because that's
No,
a forum as well.
I
It's-
wouldn't take that. So, and I think that's true.
Don't
We're
knock
kind of
4chan.
devolving from what?
Don't knock fortune.
You like 4chan? I've
No,
just
I
heard that
don't.
it's a place that kind of turns into
It can absolutely be cancer.
right.
Like, just like any other social media.
Right.
I think there's, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of funny things that have come from it, though.
Sure. But I guess my point is just that as an example, you know, there are places where in certain situations it can turn, like you were saying,
Yeah.
turn into something bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so here's the other side of that. Before we get into, like, you know, there's a few things that I was reading about that are, you know, definite side effects of social media. But one issue that I see with this is you are constantly connected. And so I remember this to a degree when I had notifications turned on Facebook before I got rid of it.
Sure.
I've been
Before-
Facebook
yeah,
free
okay.
for over a month. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
And you know, actually, there are also some studies that show that individuals who have permanently left social media there are indications that they may have a more positive life experience afterward and feel better, less anxiety, things like that.
Sure.
There's some studies, and we don't really even know how internet affects us because it's relatively new in the human life.
We're 24, 25
We
years
have
old.
no idea how it's going to
Depending on what
actually
you-
right, but
Call the internet and like what you classify it as.
internet, and then even newer than that is social media.
Right.
I mean, we don't have a clue.
When did like because MySpace was right before Facebook, right?
Yeah,
And that was probably like one of the first like truly big
Right.
social media platforms.
right.
I mean, there might be others, but that's the first one that I remember anyway. And I
Right.
feel like we were kind of in that first.
Sure. And I wonder if there's a difference too, that when social media was literally you had to go to it, then it might not have been as bad. Whereas social media, like I was just about to get into this and got off track a little bit, but social media is constantly with us because those notifications. So
Right.
part of the idea of one of the things that seems to be a negative side effect of social media is depression and anxiety. And now the research hasn't been done enough on it to show necessarily if the correlation equals causation, right? Which is it that people who tend to have depression or anxiety tend to spend more time in social media, or is it more time in social media tends to lead towards depression and anxiety?
Sure.
Now, I have opinions that would say that it's the social media
That causes.
that at least influences
Sure.
that to be worse.
Sure.
But it's constant. So in the middle of the night, people are woken up by notifications on social media.
Sure.
And so there's also ideas that even the lack of sleep is contributing to this.
I can totally see
It's
that.
a perfect storm,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
The self-esteem side of it,
Yep.
the social, the almost a distanced socializing kind of a thing, which it's weird that I use that term in today's world,
Right.
post-COVID, right? But
Are we post-COVID technically, or are we
we're
mid-COVID?
mid-COVID. Sorry, we are mid-COVID, maybe we just call it the world of COVID.
The world of.
Yeah, I don't know.
The world
But-
according to COVID.
But it's constant,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Always have it. And so some of the things that really affects, especially mental health, psychologically, there's actually, so to a degree, one of the things would be that it's addictive. Would you agree with that?
Wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly.
Okay.
Yeah.
How come? Like what leads you to agree with that?
So even today, because I only really have LinkedIn and Reddit if we consider that.
Sure.
But even on LinkedIn today, I'm not frequently on it because I'm not looking for a job right now.
Okay.
But, I'll occasionally get on there just to see if any of my friends have posted like, oh, they got new jobs or if I know
Sure.
a friend got a new job, like I'll go on there just to like, say congrats or something like that if I, don't want to text.
Right. Right.
But I got on there today and I started like scrolling through what is like the LinkedIn feed, and there was like a pretty political thing posted.
Awesome.
Which is
Those are the best.
yeah, super fun, especially when it's like super passive aggressive because
Right.
everybody's trying to be professional on their
Right.
LinkedIns, but also still trying to like really, this is what I believe.
Right.
Which was, but like I got sucked into it. And next thing I know, like, it's 35 minutes later and I've been reading comments from complete strangers on LinkedIn about, a political situation that someone posted about. And it's like, oh, what the heck? So like I know, at least for me, it is.
Sure.
And so I was like, okay, I got to just turn this off. And I put my phone down and went and played with the kids. But
Yeah, and so have you ever seen that TEDx talk? I don't remember the guy's name, but he talked about, and a component of social media is going to be screen time, right? Mm-hmm. Have you seen that one?
I have
where they're
not.
talking- So apparently, a screen on a phone or a tablet, especially for children and adolescents, but even adults as well, has the same effect on your brain, like produces the same chemicals and things like that as I believe it was cocaine. And so it's not just the social media side of it, but also that tied with that screen. I think that there can even be almost a physical addiction to it.
sure.
But there's a number of different studies, and you guys can all go check those out. And there's going to be some probably that disagree with that because
For
that's
sure.
how it is, right?
Yep.
But I mean, the more we research it, I think the more we're going to see, in
Right.
my opinion, the negative sides of it. And so
Yeah.
it's addictive for a number. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to cut in, I don't know. Have you ever seen the show The Orville?
No.
Okay, so it's Seth MacFarlane, creator of Family Guy, American Dad,
Okay,
like
yep.
all those.
Yep.
It's like a space. It's kind of like a Star Trek like spoof,
Okay.
but I've only seen like 4 episodes, so grain of salt. But
Sure.
the few episodes that I've seen are actually fantastic, and they actually take really hot topics and bring it into like that environment. And so, for example, the one episode is like they go to this planet and it's like complete social media like world, and you actually have like it's like visible for everyone to see like how many likes you have and how many dislikes you have just as like a
Ooh.
person.
Wow.
Yeah, and I can't remember what I maybe even was like execution if you had too many dislikes. I can't really remember. Obviously they make it extreme, but it's to prove a point, right?
Sure.
Like this obviously is not where social media is, but let's talk about some possible
Right.
implications
Well-
of social media.
Well, let's take that number of likes being public.
Sure.
Okay. Now let's flip that into number of friends.
Okay.
So, one example I think of where it can be an issue is people. So, on their personal posts, they might use the number of likes or reactions as a indicator to them
Sure.
of value almost.
Mhm.
But even number of friends. So,
Okay. Sure.
most social media, even ones that are more like a personal experience, I would say. So let's take Snapchat.
Okay.
A lot of people have people as friends that aren't necessarily friends, but it's because you have, you know, I have X amount of friends because it just expands my social circle,
Sure.
right?
Right.
So is that, I mean, when you say those public number of likes, to me, it's almost something we have,
Sure.
but I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, and I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but like, if you are super into your social media like that and you're going for number of likes or hearts or whatever it is, I mean, if you have more friends, you're more likely to get more, right?
Sure.
So why not just keep adding people, regardless if we know them or not? And
People make careers out of it.
people do.
So
And that is, yeah.
it's,
Well,
yeah,
what are they called? Influencers?
influencers.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So just a couple more things, and we're going to move on to another topic because,
Yeah.
I mean, social media stuff, it's
Oh, we can always come
a
back to this.
huge thing.
Yeah.
Right? And it's got
I think we've barely scratched the surface.
absolutely. But some other things that research is kind of showing that happens as a negative effect of social media, but triggers more sadness and less well-being.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
That's significant, right? And we compare our lives with others.
I think that's a huge one.
Which mentally, like mental health, that is, you know, very negative effect
Right.
on us.
Yeah. And how often do we hear or see people being like, well, you know, that's, like, I got to look good for my Insta, you know? And it's like,
Yeah.
you know, no one really looks like that all the time, right?
Right. Filters.
Yeah. Well,
We now
filters-
can filter anything.
Yeah.
We use Zoom for work, and Zoom has a like beautification setting on it.
Nice.
And so it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I have it on. Honestly,
You don't need it on.
that's what I was gonna say, but I'm glad that
Humble.
you said it. It can lead social media. It can lead to jealousy,
For sure.
like legit
Yeah.
jealousy issues.
Well, it becomes the, you know, your neighbors, right? Because
Right.
you're like, oh, well, it's the Joneses, right? Like they got the sweet, you know, whatever.
Yep.
And I want that now. And
right,
but you see that with 1,000 people on your Facebook, or you know,
and you feel like you've been basically shorted,
yeah,
shafted.
why does everybody else have XYZ? And
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then one of the last things here is we actually get caught up in a delusion thinking that social media will help. Because what happens is we become dependent on it. So we're having a terrible day. We get on social media and we see all these things, which makes us have a more terrible day, and we go back to it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, or even like, oh, crappy day, and you have like 15 people be like, oh, it's okay, you'll do better tomorrow, or tomorrow's
Yep.
gonna be better. And
Yep.
like, don't get me wrong, that stuff is helpful, but at what point are you relying on it?
Right. And it's not helping you long term.
Right.
Necessarily.
That is a very short term solution.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, huge topic. And so tell us what you think about it, you guys.
Yeah. And we're not saying that you need to go out and delete all your social media right away.
Jordan's not saying that. I'm saying it's good enough. But I feel like I've noticed the difference. I had
Yeah.
when I stopped a month ago.
Well, wean
and,
yourself,
And let
right?
me tell you this: Facebook, that was the only one that I really had. I've got
Okay.
Snapchat, rarely use it, so I've kept
Sure.
that one.
Sure.
Liz will send me pictures of the kids occasionally, something like that on it.
Yeah. And I think that's, you know,
Right.
Whatever.
But Facebook, when
For
I
you.
had to deactivate, they made me go through this process, and they asked me at least 3 times, "Are you sure?"
Yep.
How manipulative.
Right.
It's terrible.
Are you sure you really want to delete it? Really?
And then they almost threaten you, because then they say, no, they really do, because
Really?
then they say, you know, you none of your information will be saved if you do this, blah, 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 things
Okay,
like that.
sure.
And then the very last thing they tell you after you've finally clicked yes, however many times, is they say, your request to have your account deactivated has been received. There will be a 30-day processing window in which you can come back and essentially stop it from being deactivated.
Sure.
They make you wait 30 days because they know that if you know it's not gone,
You can always just hop
you
back.
can come back on it.
Yep.
And that's so manipulative.
Yeah, falling off the wagon. They're
It
calling you
ticked
back.
me off. Ticked me off so much.
Yeah.
But I'm past the 30 days. And
Yep.
honestly, for the first week was like I put my weather app on my phone where my Facebook app was.
Yep.
And I would randomly grab my phone and my weather app would be open. For the first 3 days, I did it multiple times.
That's funny.
And so totally buy into this idea that it's not good for us. It's not good for even the most obvious of discussions that's terrible in our country, political discourse. It's the worst for that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because how often
It's
have you
horrible.
seen a productive conversation on politics come through on Facebook?
very rarely,
Yeah.
if ever.
I mean, so I got rid of my Facebook before I got in the military. So it's been 7 years now, I think. Facebook free.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Thanks, man.
Good for
You
you.
want to know what the kicker was for me?
What?
I remember seeing a post about Justin Bieber, and I was like, I'm sick of seeing all this like pop culture crap. I'm getting off
Oh,
Facebook.
you're such an old man. But yeah, it's ridiculous. So
Yeah.
I mean, you guys feel free to write in and tell me I am nuts that it has all these benefits, and you know what? You're probably right on a lot of it. I'll grant you there have to be benefits, but
Yeah.
at what point do we say it's just not worth what it's doing to us as a
Yeah.
society and as people and to our and I didn't even get into this, and I'm just going to mention it, but the amount of our youth, primarily girls, who are taken advantage of by
Sure.
predators through social media.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a disaster. And
Yeah.
I bought into being done, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
And
Wean yourself off. One social media thing at a time.
That's right.
Do it.
Yeah.
Try one. You always got 30 days on Facebook to go back. So
Exactly.
there's no real harm with Facebook, right?
Right.
As long as you get back within 30 days.
Yeah. But yeah, it's insane. But hey, you know what? That's how it goes.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a break from this Facebook discussion for a little bit, and we're going to go to our sponsor.
All right, everybody. This second sponsor is Ricky the Rat, who is a rat that we found in the cabin while recording. Thanks, Ricky, for sponsoring the second half of the show. We'll hopefully not see you next time.
So welcome back to the discussion on Facebook. What were we talking about, Jordan? Where were we at?
We had just wrapped up our conversation on social media and how you should try and wean yourself off one thing at a time. And with that, what's an old-timey way that nobody uses anymore to contact each other?
Telegraph.
Well, that too, for sure. But I think that's mainly because people don't have the ability to use telegraphs.
Landlines. No. I know what you're getting at. We're talking
Such a
about
jerk.
So, sorry, Jordan. I was being snotty. Not snotty. I was being whatever, difficult. What are we talking about? What's our last discussion?
Letters.
Letters.
Yeah,
Love
so anytime
letters?
could be anything.
I
Any kind of
love
mail
letters.
that comes in an envelope. Envelope or envelope?
Oh.
I'll pose that first.
Wow. That's really a hard one. I think when it comes to your standard mail, that it's an envelope.
Okay.
I think when it comes to something that's really, really high class and you're going to do a wax, that's really a hard one. I think when it comes to your standard mail, that it's an envelope.
Okay.
I think when it comes to something that's really, really high class and you're going to do a wax seal on it and
So
everything like
nothing.
that, then it's an envelope.
Okay.
And you know what? Envelopes are just as important as envelopes.
I suppose so.
I don't know. I think that's how I would differentiate it. The same
Okay.
thing I do with like, what are the other examples of stuff like that?
Data and data, because this actually came up with one of our listeners commented that we said data, and they were wondering if it was because one of us said it first or if we both actually say data and not data. And I,
Yeah,
like,
I think I use both.
Yeah.
I'm
Depending on the context.
word ambidextrous.
Yeah.
But no, I think we're okay. I mean, please send us your opinion, but I hope you will forgive us if we use the incorrect terminology and say envelope. What are you going to use?
I mean, I'm going to use envelope because that's what I say.
Forgive us for saying envelope if you are an envelope person.
Yep. Please do.
And please don't stop listening because of that.
We could do a whole show on just words like that. Coupon and coupon.
Oh.
We'll get to that. We'll do one about that.
That would be
later.
fun.
Yeah.
So, but we're going to need people to send in like all of those.
All of them that you can think of.
Yep.
And then we'll
tackle them.
Yeah, we will. And we'll also do, I think, depending on how many people chime in on the conversation, we could even do like a top 10,
Ooh,
or a top 5, whatever we need.
We're probably going to have to get on Facebook for that.
Oh, boy.
Facebook.
Well, that's okay.
All right.
We can do that.
All right.
Anyway.
Envelopes.
Yeah, you get a piece of mail, in your mailbox or however it gets delivered to your house. How do you go about opening it? Because there's a few ways that you can do it. So
you posed this question to me, and I thought about it for a little bit, but really then I thought, I'm okay with however people do it at the end of the day. I'm not gonna overly judge them on it.
Right.
But I do think for me, I consider myself to be part of the working class to a degree. I feel like I'm just a kind of an everyday kind of guy. So I think for myself, when I grab an envelope and I'm going to open it,
yep,
what I usually do is I get a finger underneath the end that's kind of open.
On the back.
It's not sealed down on the back.
Yep.
Get my finger
Under
in
the
there.
flap.
Under the flap.
Yep.
Stick it down into the envelope, and then I just rip straight across the top. And it usually will tear right along the seam.
Okay.
That's how I do it.
Interesting. So I am an end opener. I normally take it. Yeah, give it a little tap on the table.
You don't rip your mail?
No.
What's wrong with you?
Nothing's wrong with me because I don't rip my mail. You got to tap it so it gets down to the end, and then you take just the very edge on the top, and you just straight down the short side of the envelope.
Sure.
To create the opening, you kind of give it a little pinch on the top and bottom to kind of puff it out, and then dump it out.
So I said
into your hand, or just pull it out.
So I said I wasn't going to judge people.
Well, so you got to stick by that. Be a man of your word.
I feel like I'm judging people right now, namely you. But if anybody else opens them that way, I'm cool with it. You can open your mail however you want. But Jordan, I'm not going to be sending you any mail because I feel like that's...
How full do you stuff your envelopes?
You know what? I'm going to stuff yours so full that it's going to change your opinion on how to open envelopes because you're going to rip everything.
So, I mean, you can tell if you're going to rip something. As you tap it, you know if there's contents throughout the entire length of the envelope.
I bet there are plenty of people out there who have examples of someone who opened it that way and ripped something important. So
ripped a check.
I need your help. Please send in to the email philosophyotc@gmail.com and help me prove Jordan wrong in this because I personally think it's fine, but I don't see why you would do it that way. It just doesn't feel right.
Okay, that's fine. So how do you feel about letter openers?
Letter openers are sweet. They're like little knives for letters.
Yep.
But
I like the ones that are like shaped like things, like mini swords.
Yeah, my grandma had one of those.
Really?
Coolest thing ever. Huh. Yep. It was kind of a golden color.
Wow, golden sword.
Fancy.
That is fancy.
Yeah, no, I think they're cool. I think that's what I would open an envelope with.
I mean, that's fair.
I don't think I would tear an envelope. I think I would have to have a letter opener.
Yeah.
For it.
Break out the steak knives.
I wouldn't do a steak knife.
Of course,
serrated. Not an envelope.
Yeah, it's serrated.
No. You're going to open an envelope with a plain old steak knife?
No, I would not do that.
I feel like that's a bad idea.
I agree.
But you need a letter opener.
I mean, sure.
I don't know. I think you're fine to do it that way. I just think you're wrong. And
that's fine.
This was a good run for the show. But I don't know. I'm just kidding. So what's your... You open it that way. That's fine. What's your reasoning? Why?
I don't know, man. I just like opening it that way. It seems faster to me, even though I know it's not, and it probably takes more time.
I don't know. I think it could be faster that way. But I think that's how you increase your chance of ripping your mail.
Well, if you go too fast, yeah, you don't tap it on the table or the countertop or something.
Right.
Or even your hand,
Yeah.
But
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, not as significant, I think, to our daily lives as being attacked by a mountain lion.
I mean, I think it's more significant to our daily lives.
No. Every time you step out the door, there could be a mountain lion waiting for you.
So all the people that live in urban areas
Mountain lions.
constantly.
And if there's a mountain lion in an urban area, chances are pretty high that it's going to attack you.
Well, I'm sure it's because it's like rabbit or something.
Exactly. No, I say I'm not convinced. You haven't convinced me that I should switch.
I'm not trying to.
Oh,
That's the thing.
You just want to have a discussion.
Yeah.
Oh, that's almost like what we're trying to do with this podcast in general.
What do you think another way even is? I'm trying to think. Because those were the three things I could think of. Letter opener, along the top, whether it be like opening the flap up or ripping along that top seam. I guess that's four different things.
I'd say that's 4.
Do you think anybody opens at the bottom?
Probably. Somebody
If
probably
you open your
does.
mail at the bottom consistently, send us an email. We'll give you a shout out.
Absolutely.
Whatever name or handle you want.
I think another way that might be an option for people is that if they consistently use a scissors, which I would differentiate from a letter opener.
I feel like that's dangerous. I feel like, how is that not dangerous? Are you saying like they actually are like cutting with both blades, or they just like stick one
the end
in?
off instead of ripping the end off? It's just like you do it, only cleaner.
Yeah, but that makes you feel really dumb if you.
Why?
Because you took the
cut
time to
something?
get scissors and then you still screwed up your mail.
I suppose. I don't know.
I mean, somebody could. And again, I guess if you do that too, let us know.
Right. We're probably missing ways on how.
I'm
to
sure
do
we
it,
are.
but,
Let us know.
Like one, soak it in the
Please.
sink
What?
for 20 minutes, and then you just peel off the outer layer.
Sure. And then you like crisp it up in like the microwave to dry it out.
Exactly.
Not that microwaves crisp things up, but you're just trying to dry it. So
Right.
it's fine. It's paper. I'm not going to get chewy on you.
Right. All right. So here's the other thing then when we're talking about envelopes versus envelopes and mail and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It has to do with that. Primarily what we get in mail, and this is something that really annoys me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might annoy you too. I don't know. I assume it annoys everyone. Why do we have such a massive amount of total junk mail?
I think it depends on what the junk mail is. So, for instance, credit card offers.
Yep.
I think the reason they're doing it is because they're like, maybe, with every 100 casts, we'll catch one guy to sign up. And then out of every person that signs up, what's the likeliness that they're going to use the credit card and then start owing us money?
Sure.
It's got to pay for the paper.
Right. Well,
Right?
and I think that they've got, the game kind of rigged a little bit by sending you a card.
Sometimes
it.
they do, yeah.
And it's basically, it's not so much a choice then. It's, hey, you have this card, you have to activate it kind of a thing. I don't know.
Sure. I feel like that's less frequent now, though, than it used
I
to
don't
be.
know. I feel like I get a lot of those.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't. I feel like I don't get those.
The other thing that I get a lot for junk mail that is kind of annoying, our internet provider, just about probably every other day at least, twice a week, I would say, we get something from our internet provider wanting us to bundle other services, or they have a special offer for us in bundling services. And it's like, man, you've given us how many pieces of junk mail? You call us once a month.
Right.
When are you going to get the hint that we're just not going to do it?
Never. They won't. Because, again, with so many casts, you're bound to catch someone. And then, they're like, oh, look at that rate. It's, it's $10 more, but we also get this with it. And now,
Yeah, but
and then you're stuck in a 2-year contract.
Well,
that
yeah, but
after
for
6 months, the
everything-
price gets jacked.
Well, that's just it. Everything that I get to the bottom of the page. I'm like, it doesn't sound bad, but I've seen it so many times now that
Yep.
I ignore it. But you get to the bottom of the page and it says, prices are only good for X amount of months. Usually it's
Yep.
something like 12 months or something like
Yep.
that. But it's still ridiculous. It's like, ugh, come on. Give
Yep.
up. Give up.
Yep.
If they stop sending me junk mail, Jordan,
Mm-hmm.
I would start opening my mail your way. So
If
work
they
your
stop
magic.
sending you junk
If
mail,
they stop sending me junk mail,
I think you
I'm
should open
willing
it that
to-
way, because then if you rip it, it doesn't matter, right?
Oh, that's true.
Use that to practice on.
Yeah, probably not.
Practice the technique.
I don't know. What do you guys think about junk mail? Do you find that it's whatever? Do you get a lot of it? Do you not? I mean, personally, I get a ton of it. Jordan, do you get a ton of it?
We do. Insurance companies is another one that we get a lot of.
Really?
Yep.
I don't get a lot from insurance companies.
Yeah. Different ones, but like, oh, switch over to us.
The big players?
Yep.
Okay, that's fair.
Yep.
They have a lot more money to work with.
Yep. There's always a couple that try and get us to switch.
Sure.
All right, guys. Thanks again for joining us. If you have any, words like envelope or envelope to send in, please send those in. And, once we feel like we have enough to really discuss, we'll definitely do an episode. Thanks again for joining. We'll catch you next time.
See you in a week.